Welcome to the WellFuel Podcast, your spot for everything gut health, detox, hormones, a healthy home, mold, and everything in between. I'm your host, Isabel Smith. I'm an integrative and functional registered dietitian and the founder of Isabel Smith Nutrition. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the WellFuel Podcast. I'm Isabel, and I'm your host. And today we are going to talk about a topic that is very close to my heart, which is how do you get yourself dressed when you're super uncomfortable in your body? This is a topic that I was going to talk about on social media, but I felt like it deserved a longer explanation, and we will be using snips from this conversation on social media so that we can have the conversation everywhere. So I am 37 years old at this point, and my body in the last 7 years has swung about 30 pounds. So I have been in very different sizes, shapes, and the beauty for me was that my job, honestly, by accident, ended up being remote. We started the company in 2014. We had an office in Park Avenue in the 50s, and the business was largely remote when we first started. I was like, oh, I think it would be better to have an office. And it was just another place for me to go close the door and sit by myself. And the dogs suffered. Thankfully for me, the universe had my back. The time frame in which I've been the most uncomfortable in my body, I've been able to sit here with sweatpants. So I realized that is a huge luxury, that the bottom half of me and my body overall has been able to sit behind a camera. And that's not the reality for everybody who sits in my seat. For those of you guys who are out there struggling with your body, whatever the reason, my heart is with you, because it has definitely been something that has just taken up so much space in my head, in my heart, in my mind. And it was so hard for me to let go of the concept of my expectation of grabbing the size that I thought I should be. It took me 6 years to be more comfortable with just grabbing the size that was actually the best size for my body. And I say that on the back half of where I have been. I have come down from the size that I was ultimately the heaviest and the most uncomfortable. But I also think the more comfortable I got with it, the more at ease my body became. I post about this a lot on social media, but our body hears everything we say to it. For the first half of my journey, I was super mean to myself, and I was just angry. I was super angry because I was so uncomfortable. And I wasn't really talking about it, and I really have no photos. I was so uncomfortable, and I wish I did. I wish I did have photos and videos of myself that was not just me like covering myself up so that I now have no photo documentation. There's a few photos of me that you can really see like what was going on with my body, but there's nothing, because I was so uncomfortable. And I wish I had spoken about this during the process more, because I think I could have helped more people. But I'm hopeful that where I am now and the position that I have now and the perspective that I have now can still help people. In my journey, which is much longer than the last 7 years, when I look back in time and try to piece together the pieces of, I've been everywhere. From a weight perspective, I've been as low as 125 and as high as 177. 125 was closer to high school, college. I was super thin and I couldn't really figure out why, but it felt great. Then I gained a bunch of weight. And the same thing happened probably 15 years later. At my thinnest in 2018, there are photos of me with a six-pack in Italy. Then I was suddenly the heaviest I'd ever been. The stuff that happened in high school was related to what happened to me 15 years later. I was on ADD meds, and I was able to just ignore everything that was going on inside of my body, because the adrenaline fueled everything. Didn't so much affect my appetite. It just affected my energy and my ability to work out hard. And my poor body was just suffering underneath the surface, clearly. The hard part for my journey has been that I've swung from extreme to extreme in a very short amount of time. So 2018, I was probably 138 pounds, which at my age, I don't know whether my bones have gotten heavier over time or whatever, but I look super thin at 138, like super, super thin. I'm 5'8". This is not really about the poundage, but more just to give you guys a picture, those of you guys who are listening. So I went from 138, again, six packs, abs, leaning against a boat. We can maybe do some magic here and put some images up on the screen here on YouTube. So I maintained that weight. We're now in 2019. I still look back and I'm like, how did this happen? We were in Colorado skiing. I wasn't quite as thin as I was in Italy, but I was not far from it. My lymphatic system was working. I was 6 months off of the ADD meds. It had taken me a year. There's definitely a possibility that I had a post-ADD med slump and slide. I will get into the clothes in a second, but I just want to give you guys a picture because I think a lot of you guys will resonate with how this all happened. I was bitten by a dog in August of 2019, a dog that lives outside. And I'm pretty sure that's how I got Bartonella. And then 5 months later, the house came down. We were definitely living in an apartment that had mold. It had been fully renovated, so maybe the mold had been cleaned up. We'd moved in April 2018. This is now December 2019. February 2020, I'm in a doctor's office at 177 pounds, not knowing how I got there. Truly, nothing had changed. And I think that's how it goes with these mold, Lyme, parasitic things. It suddenly just boom, the system gives way and everything piles on top. I have always been kind of hourglass shaped. If I gain weight, it's all over my body. It's not in one place or another. It's always been more flattering for my body to be a more fitted fit, maybe with a belt on. It's never looked particularly great on my body to have looser, baggy clothes. What was really interesting is throughout my journey with this weight thing in the last 7-8 years, it's been more uncomfortable for me to be in baggy clothes because it accentuated the way I felt about my body until recently, which has been interesting. I think part of that is mindset shift. I think part of that is physical body shift, going from a place where fitted was comfortable, most flattering, not tight, but fitted. And I have a very small frame. That's the other piece here. Even though I'm tall, I think my bones are really heavy because I wear a size 2 or 4. I was a swimmer, so I'm more broad in the shoulders. So I was wearing fitted clothes. Suddenly the fitted clothes were extremely tight. Thankfully, then came the pandemic, so I could live in sweatpants and spandex and wear nice looking tops, but just be in spandex. But at that point, I was so hung up on what the size said and was squeezing myself into these clothes that really didn't fit. I'm sure you guys out there can resonate with that. I tried to squeeze myself into a pair of whatever and couldn't get in them. It was so damaging. So I avoided that. That was smart. I would recommend that. I would recommend taking all the clothes that either certainly don't fit you or you think don't fit you out of the closet. Just take them out and put them somewhere. You don't have to get rid of them, but just take them out of your closet. So you're not tempted to try them on, because what I made the mistake doing was trying them on over and over again. And this can be you, like you out there who feel heavy and you out there who are trying to gain weight and you're really frustrated or you've lost a lot of weight. It is equally as frustrating to be in either place, trying desperately to gain weight or lose weight and feeling as though you are getting nowhere and everything continues to spiral. Take out those clothes, just take them out of your closet. I made the mistake of not doing that because I was so thrown by this, and it happened in a way that I just wasn't planning on. That's what happens with these infections. It's not like you sat and ate a ton and ended up really heavy. What's happening on a cellular metabolic level is that there's an inflammatory process going on that is making you retain more water and also completely screwing up the health of your mitochondria. And when you screw up the health of your mitochondria, you dramatically affect the health of the metabolism, your ability to absorb, utilize nutrients, transport nutrients, and probably your gut is tremendously affected, which also includes absorption issues. So anyway, back to the closet of clothes that I can see myself standing in front of in this New York City apartment we lived in. So many of these clothes suddenly were just tight everywhere. It wasn't like I suddenly had a belly and my legs were still skinny. It was everywhere. I was inflamed and I was hot and I was uncomfortable and I was just sad and angry and frustrated and miserable. The pain of the pandemic and the discomfort of the isolation distracted me, but it really affected Paul and our relationship because I was just so uncomfortable. My clothes didn't fit. And again, at that point, I had nowhere to go. So like just wear spandex and whatever. But at the time, because of all the infection in my body, the harder I pushed to try and move it and the more I exercised, the heavier I got, which is also a common theme here. So if I could go back and redo this, speak to myself at that point in time, what I would do and what I tell my clients to do is First, let's buy you some clothes that actually fit. Just blindfold yourself to the size or shape or whatever and just buy the clothes. This is easier said than done, but I can promise you sitting around in clothes that are painful, too tight, don't fit you, make you feel worse about yourself, or too big, either way, it's going to actually delay your healing. I promise you that, because every time you put them on, you are going to be reminded of where you are versus where you want to be, how much they do or don't fit, how uncomfortable you are or are not, how angry you are or are not at yourself for where you are and where you want to be and where you feel like you should be. Instead of just getting a pair of whatevers, go to Old Navy, go to the Gap, buy on Amazon. If you're used to a certain standard of clothing, just get yourself some clothes that fit. Go to Zara, go to whatever. Because wearing clothes that fit you actually make you look a whole lot thinner. And if I could have just gotten that into my hard head, I would have been so much more comfortable. And again, I had this aha moment standing in a Zara fitting room this past spring, 2024. So again, 7 years, 6, 7 years in, and going, this one just doesn't fit me. So I'm just going to get the medium or the large. And it was so freeing. I didn't even care. I was like, wow, this looks so much better on me. And these actually fit. Boom, done. These are I'm buying them. Bye. Let's move on. Same thing here. I am at a place now where I'm more comfortable in my body, and I was not then. But if I could rewind, have a friend come, have anybody you're comfortable come, help you, get the sizes, cover them up if you need to. Don't look at them. Just look at yourself in the clothes and see that they fit you. If we'd been in a time where this could have been a possibility, I would do this for myself. It's amazing how when we go through journeys, we get rid of friends that couldn't do that. I have a ton more friends now in my life that I would just invite to come and help me, and they would help me. And at the time, I think I didn't. Also, it was COVID. So I would recommend buying yourself some clothes that fit. Buy clothes that give you a little bit of shape. For me, it's a waist, right? For me, like double my waist, like my waistband, not like a garbage waist, but for me, it's a waist, a belt, a fitted something. My legs, the top of my legs were inflamed and were holding a lot of water weight throughout my journey. So pants were really hard for me. So dresses became easier. Long, flowy dresses. I had some great Zara dresses. For me, my boobs have always been, and I've actually never talked about this, so here we are. My boobs have always been a sense of discomfort for me. I'm the most comfortable when they're as small as they possibly can be. So for me, push-up bras that accentuate just make me really uncomfortable. So again, as everything got bigger, so my boobs got bigger. Now they're smaller, and I've been wearing these airy bralettes that practically make me look flat. And you know what? That's the most comfortable for me. So that's what I do now for me. My clothes fit better. I feel more comfortable. But I often look at actresses and celebrities and go, wow, look at that shapeliness, right? And so you probably know which areas of your body to accentuate, but do not, if you can help it, put a bag over yourself and a moo-moo because you feel so heavy. Give yourself a little bit of shape. If you feel like your legs are your most comfortable, flaunt them. If you feel like your waist, make a little waist with your belt, do that. But you do definitely want to accentuate some part of your body, whatever you are most comfortable with. For me, my arms felt pretty big. My legs felt pretty big. So sweater dress was a great plan. I love my puff sleeves. You will see me in puff sleeve everything. It's because they give a shape, but they don't accentuate the size of your arms. I sat in on a stylist conversation at a mastermind retreat I was at earlier last year. She was talking about, Tori Cruz is her name, and she was talking about fashion pieces are conversation pieces and a way to start a conversation in a room with somebody. The cool thing that struck my mind is that somebody doesn't know whether I'm wearing a size small, a size medium, or a size large. But that small, squeezing every part of my body is not going to look particularly cute, whereas the large might hang on me properly and may really look fantastic. But again, when you're so in it and you're so hung up on the size of where you think you should be versus where you are, it's really painful. So for me, with the waist, again, my midsection being a part of me that I should accentuate and give my legs a little bit more breathing room, even though I have great thin legs, they were so clogged and the lymphatic system was so clogged. Last summer, there was a trend of flowy pants with waistband. That was awesome. Those were great. Flowy dresses with a little bit of a cinch in the waist. Misa, brand from LA. Love Misa. Shout out to Misa, MISA. Their dresses are not crazy expensive. super forgiving in terms of shape and shape change. They're like a gauzy, flowy sort of material, but have a bit of a waist cinch. Love them. Obsessed. Check them out. I have a lot of photos of myself in Misa clothing. Those dresses have fit me throughout my entire journey because they absorbed whatever my size was. And I was able to maintain wearing a size extra small. So naturally, my brain loved that. But it was more about the fact that they fit me. I felt good. They accentuated parts of me that should be accentuated and left the parts of me that would have made me more uncomfortable to accentuate alone. So I think the first question for yourself, if you're listening, is like, what am I comfortable in? Now, what part of my body could I feel comfortable accentuating a little bit? Is it my legs? Is it my upper body? Is it my midsection? Let's put together some ideas for clothing. I'm not a stylist, but I have a lot of perspective on this, and I have learned a lot over my journey here in the last couple of years. I love jackets. I love colorful jackets. High-waisted jeans for me, again, with the waist accentuation, with a little stretch in them, and a jacket. Super, super comfortable look for me. When I have a dress or a shirt that hits me mid-thigh, it's just not a good look for me. However, with the jacket, with it open, with some semblance of a high-waisted jean that accentuates a little bit of my waist, nice necklace, booties or something. I'm not a heel person, but I have noticed that wearing a little bit of a lift in the heel can accentuate my legs, make them feel thinner, look thinner, etc. So that's been a win as well. I'm happy to play fashion stylist. If you have questions from this, please shoot us a DM on Isabel Smith Nutrition, or you can feel free to send us an email at hello@isabelsmithnutrition.com. This is an area I'm super passionate about because I know how uncomfortable it can be to be in a position where you have nothing to wear, or you think you have nothing to wear, and you're wearing bags over yourself because it's the most quote unquote comfortable thing. But I can promise you, feeling like you have no shape in a direction where you feel like you're already out of your body, right? Or on the flip side, you've lost too much weight and are swimming in your clothing. Don't do that to yourself. Go on Amazon, find yourself a $5 t-shirt and a $10 pair of pants. Or go somewhere where you can, near me here, there's a church that has clothing you can get that's donated. If you don't have the financials to buy new clothing, there's lots of ways to access it. Get yourself some clothes that feel good. Because if you're somebody who is in between jobs or has had a rough time financially and you're wearing clothes you don't feel comfortable in and you're in a job interview and you're feeling miserable about yourself, it's going to come off that way. So go somewhere, get yourself some clothes, borrow them, whatever, that give you a little bit of shape that you can feel a little bit more confident in. It will actually help change the chemistry in your brain. I can swear by this because it happened to me. It makes you feel like being around people more, to feel more comfortable in your skin versus being by yourself. And that joy that is brought by being able to be around people and be more comfortable in your skin can help you heal. What it does chemically for your body and your brain to be around people because you felt more comfortable in your skin doing so is more healing for your entire body than almost anything else. So the clothing piece can be a really pivotal, important part of your healing journey, more than you're giving it credit for, and a lot more than I gave it credit for myself. So I hope that this was a meaningful, helpful conversation. It's one that I was reflecting on this morning, thinking that it would be really impactful to have. And I'm really excited for you to listen to it. So let us know if we can help you. I feel very passionate about continuing to have this conversation. And we'll see you next time right here on the WellFuel Podcast. As always, thanks so much for listening to the WellFuel Podcast. We're so happy to have you. To make sure you don't miss a beat, please subscribe either on Apple or Spotify because we have tons of great content. If you want to make sure that you're up to date on everything we're doing in the business with our clients and new offers and all the things, make sure that you check us out at Isabel Smith Nutrition on Instagram and isabelsmithnutrition.com. See you guys soon.